We need everyone to be more energy efficient if we're going to meet all of this incoming grid demand. The costs are going to come somewhere. So it makes the customer and the communities, including historically underserved communities and historically underserved customers, that much more important to engage with.
I'm Carolyn Parrs, communicator, coach, and host of Just Power, a podcast about creating a clean energy future without leaving anyone behind. Join me as we explore the technologies, policies, and human stories that can make clean energy not just sustainable for our planet, but accessible for everyone. Welcome back to Just Power. Hi, I'm Carolyn Parrs. I have a big ask from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Just Power. You are the reason we exist. And by subscribing, you keep the momentum on this very important issue, energy affordability and equity. So do it now. It'll take a half a second for you to do it. And that way I can keep the amazing guests coming on our show, like Ben Nathan, who is back, the Director of Affordability and Equity at eSource. And when he was here last, we were just beginning to see what changes to affordability, energy affordability and equity might mean for utilities and the customers they serve, right? So fast forward to nearly 6 months later, a lot has transpired. We've seen federal funding that's been rolled back. We've seen utilities that are grappling with higher rates and rising disconnections and mounting pressures from AI-driven centers, right? And electrification and what impacts they may have on their customers. And of course, the result is low to moderate income folks are worried, right? Many people are worried. I'm worried about this. So here's some good news. Ben and his team at eSource have just completed a major study with 7 utilities that shines a light on the customer journey for those that are struggling right now with energy bills. Okay, and they're already preparing a follow-up study to go even deeper. So today we're going to talk about what they found and what utilities are doing with that information now. All right, so welcome back, Ben.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for that warm welcome. And a lot has happened since I was last on, but we are continuing to do this work alongside our utility partners. And it's great to see that you are continuing to bring on great guests. I'm honored to be featured alongside them on your show.
Yes, so great to have you back. You know, it feels like the stakes have only gotten higher since we last connected. So I am going to dive right in and ask you, what shifts have you seen in how utilities are responding to some of the changes, the federal rollbacks we're seeing and the affordability funding, that some of it that might be being cut or transitioning? What are you seeing now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think you kind of summarize it at a high level pretty well. So just to level set, what we've seen coming down at the federal level is, I think, first and foremost, is the one big beautiful bill includes a lot of stipulations around federal health and nutrition assistance programs, specifically the eligibility and enrollment requirements around them that most leading experts think is going to significantly reduce the number of Americans that can participate in those programs, that are eligible to participate in those programs. So that's gonna be a big hit to those millions of Americans who, I think we need to stop thinking about this in a silo of whether they can afford their health care or the food that they depend on.
Yes.
This is hitting their pocketbooks and their wallets one way or another. So if they have less to spend on their health care and on their nutrition, they're also going to have less to spend on their energy bills and on other critical household needs. So this is hitting these folks one way or another. So we're seeing the threats to those assistance programs. At the same time, we've seen numerous threats to the federal energy assistance program, LIHEAP, or the Low Income Home
Yeah.
Energy Assistance Program. As you may have shared on your show, back in April, the entire team at the Department of Health and Human Services that administers that program, LIHEAP, was fired. Some were brought back, others have left. So there's a concern about the staff required to administer that program, get those federal dollars, around $4 billion, out to states, which then trickles down to local agencies to help struggling utility customers pay their utility bills. That is a life-saving program. So as I mentioned, since then, those staff have been restored. The remaining 2025 funding was released, but the Trump administration has proposed zeroing out the budget for LIHEAP in 2026. So that is a significant threat. What happens in Congress is what this comes down to, and there are many champions for LIHEAP in the Senate, not as much in the House. But we are in
Okay.
close coordination with a national organization called NEWAC, the National Energy Affordability Utility Coalition.
Yeah.
That is on the front lines of this, and they keep us updated and our partners updated on the future of LIHEAP.
Yeah.
Lastly, I'll just mention we've seen a lot of rescinding of clean energy, of energy efficiency policies and funding through the Inflation Reduction Act. That is impacting anyone's ability to install clean and energy efficient technologies and infrastructure in their homes and communities. And on top of that, the Justice 40 initiative, which was the Biden administration's 40% goal of the overall benefits of federal investments to flow to disadvantaged communities, that was rolled back on day one. So we're seeing this very comprehensive rollback of stuff, of federal policies and funding in the energy space, particularly. And lastly, I will say, layered on top of
Can I
that,
get some good news, please? All right.
yes,
So,
but layered on top of that, there's this federal government-wide targeting of anything labeled equity,
yeah.
DEI, environmental justice. I'm
Yeah.
sure you cover this on your show. And that is really applying across the federal government. It's trickling down to state governments and a lot of economic sectors. If they are considered federal contractors, these kinds of rules apply to them. So this is a very comprehensive, let's say, headwinds. This is backsliding. But I will share that last week we hosted a workshop of utility executives from across the United States, representing many of the largest electric and gas utilities serving millions of customers. And many of them remain dedicated, focused, and passionate about pursuing a more affordable and equitable energy system. It is part of their foundation. It is part of their mission to provide excellent customer service, to make sure that they have a reliable and resilient energy system for all customers and communities. This has become very intertwined in the utility mission, in the utility compact, and I'm optimistic that this great work will continue, whatever it's called, in whatever form it takes. This is important work, and we all rely on it for affordable, for clean, for reliable, and resilient energy in our homes, whether you're struggling to pay your bills or not. We're all part of this.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
pause there.
Great overview, big picture of what has happened and is happening right now. Okay, and you're right in the center of it, Ben. I mean, this is like your job, right? So that's in your job title. So I'm curious about the group that you brought together last week. Um, So you said some major utilities. Are you is it leaning towards the municipalities? Are we seeing the investor-owned utilities still saying, "Hey, we might not call it that anymore. We're talking about building communities versus
Yeah,
DEI or equity or whatever words we want to talk." And so it's customer service, right?
yeah,
It's customer engagement.
yeah.
And low income, moderate income customers are their customers. I want to know what's happening with boots on the ground.
Yep, it's definitely a mix, and I'll say first off,
Okay.
we have a very diverse mix of utilities that we work with, and that attended our workshop last week. Obviously, investor-owned utilities serve the vast majority of Americans, but we have a mix of investor-owned utilities, of municipal and public utilities, large and small, and they're approaching it in all kinds of different ways. Some are really doubling down on their efforts. They
Okay.
may be located in states that are especially that are focusing especially or doubling down their regulation to do something about this.
Hmm.
Others are rebranding. As you mentioned, they may be calling it access, community,
Yes.
words like that. Others are pivoting in interesting ways for different reasons. So, and I think that is a healthy, constructive part of setting a goal and act and working towards it and evaluating how you're doing and talking to your customers and communities, finding out what they want and making sure that you're actually delivering what they want and need. So I think a good example is there has definitely been some, I think, well-founded pivoting from, let's say, more of a focus on clean energy towards more of a focus on affordability, a recognition that a lot of clean energy can come at a high cost, especially for struggling customers, and that may sometimes come at the expense of affordability and the ability of customers to afford their bills. So there's been a repivoting of that balance between how much they're going to focus on and incentivize clean energy installations versus reducing bills and making sure that everyone can really afford their bills. Um,
So you're
I,
saying that clean energy, the story is that clean energy is too expensive, that people can't afford that. I know that we've gotten tax credits that
yeah,
are
well,
shifting, right? So that's going to make an impact on
yeah.
it. But then we're bringing back or not retiring some coal, right? If you're talking about a new gas plant, that's 5 years away. Um,
And
so
I
it's very complex here. So
Exactly. I think utilities are taking a sharper focus on how to balance those two priorities, which do not have to be in conflict. They just have to be done in a responsible way, leveraging different strategies that can really balance them. So, trying to explore, for instance, income qualified rates alongside clean energy incentives to make
mhm.
sure that as we are in this clean energy transition and as there are threats to customer affordability, that we're exploring all these different strategies to help struggling folks manage their energy consumption, manage their energy costs, while getting access to increasing clean energy technologies, to electrification. There's a lot of balancing that we're seeing here, and working with utility executives, they're keenly aware of this need to balance. They're overseeing large utility operations. They're worried about their regulators, their shareholders, their customers,
Hmm.
their communities, their own ability to operate. This is complex. This is
Yeah.
not easy work. And I'll also say that, you mentioned at the top about, AI driven data centers.
Hmm.
That is so top of mind for utilities.
And it should be.
It should be. And this is a real concern.
And there's been pushback issues with
Yep,
communities as well on that too, right? Where there a lot of times I read a case study in where was it? Virginia,
yep,
where a data center came in, right? And then 4 years later, the 4 years it didn't operate, and the customers had to pay for that millions of dollars while waiting. So like starts and stops, and
yep.
it's like let's layer that on top of everything else that's happening
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, there's a question as to whether they are paying their fair share, considering all the energy they're using,
Right.
but assuming they are operational, there continues to be a growing energy demand concern. Do we have the energy supply to meet all of this demand? And
Hmm.
what that really means is that every customer and every community is now, I think, what we call itself an energy resource. So we need everyone to be more energy efficient if we're going to
Yeah.
meet all of this incoming grid demand. The costs are going to come somewhere. So it makes the customer and the communities, including historically underserved communities and historically underserved customers, that much more important to engage with from a utilities
Ah,
perspective.
I like that. Okay.
Make sure that they can afford.
Everyone's in this game no matter what, and we all have to be looking at it,
We're
right? Okay.
now very reliant on everyone. We are truly all part of a very integrated
Okay.
system. So that comes up a lot too when I talk to utilities.
Okay. We are reliant on everyone. I close the show always like we're all in this together. Now it's really making sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so let me jump. Okay, you have just wrapped up a study,
yeah.
right? Where 7 utilities weighed in on LMI, low moderate income customers. Who uh, um who were these 7 utilities? I mean, you don't have to say their names, but are we talking a mix? What was the most eye-opening findings? Let's say that challenged conventional wisdom.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing this up. We're particularly excited about this study we just completed. So, as you mentioned, we worked with 7 utilities. Again, it was a mix of investor-owned and municipal,
Okay.
both electric and gas utilities, really spread across the United States. Some of the largest utilities, and as well as some more mid-size municipal utilities. And what we set out to do is really have a better understanding of the low to moderate income customer journey through the energy assistance process. And by energy assistance, I mean direct bill payment assistance. So applying
Mm.
to utility discount programs, receiving, as I mentioned earlier, LIHEAP program dollars. What is it like for those customers to identify an energy assistance program? And those are sometimes offered through utilities or
This
through
is
their
hard
local
to
partner.
do. This is a
Yep.
hard problem because they're not going there or this. And
You
I,
know
I
that
read
they're
your
strong.
article on this, which I'll have in the show notes. Everyone check it out. But this is part of the problem because of just eligibility and
Yep.
systems and digitalizing all of this. So keep on
Exactly.
going.
Yeah, so we wanted to find out what it's like for these customers to identify a program, to apply for a program, to actually get enrolled in the program. And once the program is over, which means the dollars have actually been applied to their monthly bill for that month, what happens afterwards? I mean, are they
Mhm.
struggling again to pay their bills? Is this an ongoing cycle? There's an annual cycle component to this. There's multiple programs that they could be eligible for or apply for. There's ongoing assistance. So, what does that journey, as we call it, look like?
Yeah.
And we actually set out to do something called journey mapping, which is really a very robust way of understanding that journey and identifying pain points along that journey,
Okay.
opportunity for improvement, and to really integrate these findings and those solution ideas, those opportunities for improvement back into those utilities processes to make meaningful improvements in the customer journey. And this was a robust 6-month study. It included customer surveys, which we fielded across the United States. It included in-depth interviews with customers that each of these 7 utilities customers. We interviewed them. We asked them about their experience. We interviewed utility staff as well as their local community action agency partners about their experiences, what they think could be improved. We gathered all of this great information that is really hard to collect. Not a lot of folks out there have the resources and time to collect all of this important, first person data, and we kind of gathered it all together. We reported it out to our participating utilities over the 6 months. We developed customer journey maps, which are these valuable graphical resources that kind of map the journey. We held an in-person workshop. This all kind of added up to a very important piece of work that all of the participants found a lot of value in. And I'll just share out a few high-level findings that we heard from our research. So I think it's important to start with basic awareness of energy assistance programs. So we conducted a national survey of low to moderate income customers, and we found that just a third of these customers surveyed, making under $50,000 a year in their household income, were even aware of assistance programs or have any familiarity with the application process to obtain them.
Wow.
A third
Okay.
of those customers were aware. So that means 2/3 were unaware. That is a pretty significant awareness gap. We,
Totally. And not, I mean, awareness is one thing, but actually um, applying it, right, is another. Like, right? So that's even lower. So,
exactly. And a lot
okay.
of that awareness, we sliced and diced these survey findings. A lot of that awareness was influenced by their income. So the more a customer makes, getting closer to what we call the working poor or moderate income, the less awareness they had. So these are folks who maybe are new to assistance programs of any type and who are increasingly having problems. They're really struggling to afford their bills. They're not aware of these programs. Location is a big factor here. Folks residing in cities and urban environments, they actually have higher awareness. They may have
Okay.
a
That makes
better,
sense.
deeper network of assistance providers or word of mouth than in rural areas. Age was also a big influence. Um, in terms of awareness and the perception of eligibility, the older the customers were, we found the less aware of programs and the less they believed they were eligible to participate in those programs, even if they were eligible based on their household income. So I think those are important
Mm.
data points we found through our survey. And again, the eligibility were also some major barriers that we identified. Older customers, those making more money actually within this population, they just didn't think that they were eligible to participate. And that's a big barrier to overcome because there's issues of shame and stigma around assistance
Yeah,
that may be
sure.
at play. There's issues of security and safety when we think about a customer's immigration status or citizenship status, when the utility is viewed at as maybe an extension of government.
Yeah.
How likely are they to want to sign up to be in a program, an assistance program, which they may qualify for and would not put them in any risk of any kind of citizenship issues, let's say. So a lot of interesting findings from this important work.
Yeah, yeah. So now you take all of that data, right? At first, it feels like a customer, like really segmenting customers, right? And from as a communicator, the communications that really has to happen. I mean, when you talk to even within a customer group, we love grouping LMI. That's a lot of people, and there's a lot of levers in there, right? Like from seniors to families
Yep.
to I even read triggering events that,
Yep.
something happened in, last month. and now they're in a situation, so there's so many levels. This is utilities typically, I may be wrong, but typically is what I've seen. They don't really have that kind of really granular data and how to deal with that. And that's really where it has to go, or at least has to go. And then I always bring in the humanity piece to all of this because it's like you already said it. There's shame, there's fear, there's so many. And are they equipped? Are the people that are working with equipped to actually work with them on that level?
Yep. Well,
So
that's why they work with us, and we are very pleased to see a lot of the utilities that we work with that we consider to be industry leading. They are beginning to engage in this very robust qualitative and quantitative data collection to better understand their customers, to better serve them, to better match them with the right energy or cost savings opportunities. Modeling different customer types. These are really important exercises to pursue if you want to really better understand and better serve your customers.
yeah.
So, yeah,
You mentioned in your research this ethnographic,
yeah.
right, research, right? Can you share a story or perhaps an insight from a customer that really stuck with you? Something that humanizes this, I want to say, crisis beyond the numbers and the data?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. I think I personally find that to be some of the most powerful data we can gather. And I think that resonated with our participants. So we conducted video recorded interviews with customers who volunteered to talk about their experience throughout their journey of identifying and applying for and getting enrolled in an energy assistance program. And the customers and we shared these videos with those utilities that we worked with in the study, and they found it to be incredibly powerful and moving, and perhaps even more valuable than all of this nationwide customer survey data
Yeah.
that we delivered to them. These were customers who candidly shared their experiences. Some were sadly just kind of comical in the hoops that they had to jump through
Uh-huh.
and the confusion and the process of unfortunately they may have applied through a website, and then they were told they have to apply through the mail, and then they apply through the
Uh,
mail and they get a
right.
letter that says apply
Yeah.
through the website. And,
Oh, yes.
and they
So
talk
painful.
and they talk to a contact center agent who is trying to help them, and they direct them back to the website. And once they apply and they get all their documentation together, then they're just left in this black hole of, did I enroll? I'm waiting to find out, did I qualify to participate? Am I going to get this life-saving bill assistance that I'm relying on? That whole process could be very demoralizing, very heartbreaking,
Mm.
um, and that's value. Those are valuable insights to capture. And on the flip side, we had recorded interviews with customers who shared what a good experience looks like, and that is so valuable to provide kind of a north star to these utilities that we worked with on how they can make this experience better.
Okay.
What does a good journey look like? It's clear. There's a step-by-step guidance. There's transparency as to where you are in the process. Um, we kind of jokingly compare it to, like, when you order a Domino's pizza, there's a little tracking bar that tells you your pizza is being made, your pizza is completed, your pizza is on its way to be delivered to your house. Can we replicate that
Why not?
kinds of
Right?
program? Can we put that on a utility portal that a customer can go in and see where they are in the
When you
process?
have a package, right, from Amazon, or you can find out where it is. When you go on a Uber, you see where your guy is coming around the corner, right?
Why can't we do that for a life-saving
Yeah,
program?
I love that
Yeah,
idea.
these utilities, they have the technology, they can put this kind of stuff in place, and some of them are exploring how to do that, and that's going to be industry leading.
I love that. I totally love that. Um, wow. So You're doing a follow-up study now,
We are.
right? Right? To go even to the second phase, going deep. What's this difference? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So it is we just launched it. We're working with even more utilities this time. I think we're up at around 15 utilities. Again, a real mix of utilities across the US,
Good.
investor owned and municipal, gas and electric. And we're really doing a similar project in terms of the journey, the customer journey mapping, but this time we're going to look at income qualified demand side management programs. And for those of you not familiar, that means energy efficiency programs, weatherization programs, programs that the utility administers to help a customer reduce the energy consumption in their home through a number of
Okay.
different energy efficient upgrades, weatherization, air sealing, insulation, you name it. These
They
are,
need to do the same thing you just mentioned to those somehow to those programs, make it super easy because
yep,
utilities have had these programs for years, right?
that's
And
right.
people don't engage a lot of times. It's the same story. So how do we bring this to like, the 20, 25, 30, 24? How do we bring it to today with
Yep,
all the technology and abilities to really streamline it digitally?
absolutely. And in many cases, this is more complex. These are bigger dollar projects. These take longer. These require
Yeah,
energy assessments.
I get that.
And,
Yeah, someone's in an
and
old house in a
yeah,
neighborhood that, is
exactly.
just leaking everywhere, right? And that's a single unit. So,
Exactly. But these demand side management programs are transformative. They can significantly reduce energy costs. They can improve home health and safety. They can improve all kinds of other outcomes for the household. So these are really transformative. They are even less subscribed to than energy assistance programs. So there's a
mm,
real opportunity for these utilities to identify what could work better, and that's why I think this is an even bigger effort. That we have more utilities participating just because of the importance of this.
does eSource help the utility? I know you're fantastic at data and research, but actually to solve the problem from, let's just say, a digital standpoint, or like what you just mentioned, like there's a problem. How do we now take this to this 21st century for your state or location? Do you
Yeah,
actually like the brains of your outfit getting involved in the solution there?
yeah. Well, we I can certainly do a shameless promotion.
Oh, please
eSource,
do.
eSource does really a ton of work with utilities across a wide range of topic areas. And in short, the answer to your question is yes. So, I mean, the kind of work that I do is more about the foundational research, the connecting utilities to one another, identifying what's working and what's not working, and sharing that. And there's a tremendous amount of value in that for
Mhm.
our clients, which is why we work with so many over the decades. We also have teams that do more in-depth consulting projects with utilities, and that could include website redesigns, marketing and engagement
Okay.
efforts, digital, what they're doing in the digital space. So we are really addressing this from all different
Okay.
angles, whether it's the foundational research and advisement, the work that I lead, or doing more in-depth, meaningful one-on-one work with our experts and their teams. So, and I'll also just mention we have a tremendous amount of data science work, which is really leveraging our clients, their data that they have on their customers, to make improvements in their operations. So these are all valuable parts of the utility operations that eSource is equipped to assist our utility clients.
So looking ahead, how do you see the collision, let's just say, of the rising rates, right? Uh, the assistance programs that are declining and these new grid demands now, affecting. Let's go 2 to 3 years out. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we're changing by the minute here, but what do you see coming down the pike, right?
That is the $1 million question, and that is something we try to think about with our utility clients, and it's a real challenge. So I think first off, we are sadly without federal government interventions. I think we are going to see far more customers in arrears, in debt to their utility. So we're going to see customer debt rising. We're going to see disconnections rising. And
Yeah.
that is going to hit everyone's bottom line. So that's going to impact the utilities' ability to operate, to invest in their grid, and someone's got to pay for those customers who are struggling. That's going to be passed on to the rest of the customer population on our bills. That's going to hit the utilities and all the thousands of people that they employ. This is a systematic issue that we think is only going to rise as we have rising energy costs combined with the anticipated cuts to assistance, whether that's energy or other types of government assistance for critical household needs. So
Okay.
that is a sad reality I think we have to grapple with. And we are also working with our utility clients to better understand the disconnections process, and do customers understand their protections against disconnections, and how is a disconnection determination made, because it can be a really life altering and shattering event. That's a sad reality of this affordability crisis that we like to say we're in. So I think that's the reality of what we're going to see for customers who are struggling. Um, I also remain optimistic about our clean energy transition. I think despite these concerning cuts at the federal level to clean energy funding, I think we have set up a very strong foundation to continue our progress towards having really cost effective and widespread clean energy that will ultimately bring costs down.
Yeah.
I think if we if enough of the country and the industry continues to pursue getting those projects in the ground, we are going to continue to see energy costs come down despite all of these challenges. But there are a lot of conflicting priorities here,
Yeah.
and we're going to have to get our hands around this, or else sooner or later we're all going to feel the impacts of unaffordable energy, especially in the context of increasing natural disasters that are driving up our costs and hurting our reliability and resiliency to bounce back from them and maintain our grid. So there's going to be a wake up call at some point.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know if we've hit that yet or if we have yet to hit it, but I think I remain cautiously optimistic. But also, I want to provide a reality check that we're going to see a lot of folks continuing to struggle.
I think just from my, I don't think we're at a collective wake up call yet,
Mm,
right? There is pockets still. I think utility executives, it's on their minds for sure. But when I have just conversations, and I do all the time, with just everyone, right? Folks that, people that might be in mid to upper level of income or higher, they're like, we're not in a crisis. What are you talking about? They don't like, they really don't get it, right? And others understand, right? So it's not a full until everyone gets hit. I love this saying about like, is energy the new eggs? You're
mhm.
right. So the new egg prices. So until like, when I sat down with an energy here in Colorado, affordability exec, right, that said, hey, the prices are going up 40%.
Yeah.
40%, she said to me over lunch. And I'm like, wait till that comes down the pike for everybody. And then it becomes, you will see it in the media and so forth. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we're at a full wake up call yet, but it's happening, right? It's happening.
And
So,
costs aside, when you're just when there's a blackout in your neighborhood, in your home, you can't get your power on because of something that's more systematic that's happening in an adjacent neighborhood because we can't afford to upgrade our this critical transmission and
Yeah.
distribution and generation infrastructure, everyone's gonna feel it there too. I think our energy problems are increasingly not going to discriminate about where you live. I think
Right.
we're all part of the system and we're all going to feel the pain one way or another. So I think you're doing an important job and others of that fundamental education and awareness of these issues because the better we as a country understand how our energy system works and some of the different conflicting priorities and challenges that we're dealing with, maybe the more empowered we are to do something about it and to act and vote accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. So in closing, Ben, if you could advise, and you're talking to them all the time, utility leaders, right, on one bold action to take right now to assure that, right, that energy affordability doesn't just collapse on just, not just vulnerable, but right up, right up to, to moderate and higher.
Hmm.
What's that one bold action you'd say? There's that wake up call you just asked about, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we heard this over and over again last week from these great utilities that joined us. Communicate and educate and listen. Listen to what your customers are saying. Listen to what they want. Listen to what your communities want. Be in the community and meaningfully engage with them. Don't just ask for something from your customers. Figure out what you can do for them. Make it a two-way street because if we don't understand our customers and what they want and need, and we come up with we install infrastructure in their neighborhoods. We launch programs to serve them, but we haven't figured out what they want and what they need from their utility. Our programs are going to fail, and we're not going to have a better relationship with these critical folks that we serve, and that utilities increasingly rely on. So, I think that communication piece is essential. That engagement piece is essential. Internal and external education, getting everyone on the same page is going to make our energy transition a more resilient one, a more affordable one, one that we can all feel like we're a part of. So that's a big ask.
Yeah,
Hell, but I just keep hearing that over and over
I
again.
love that. So I have it. I did a show, the 5 questions you should be asking your customers now.
Mm,
Check that out. You can start there, right? But talking to your customers, right? Like what's happening now. If you talked to them a year ago, fantastic. That's a long time ago. Okay. Even 6 months ago is a long. Look at what happened with us since over six
mhm.
months. So I love that. Talk to your customers and educate, not educate, communication, that two-way street, right?
Yeah,
Because energy is a two-way street these days, right? It's not just like it's a one-way road, but it's really an important one. And that includes educating and talking to your customers. So thank you for that and sharing these critical insights that will help everyone be able to have healthy, happy lives and energy, the energy that they need to live, survive, and thrive. I would say.
absolutely.
So what I'm hearing, just kind of wrapping up here, is that affordability crisis is no longer something on the horizon. It is here, but there's also real opportunity. The research that you and your team did at eSource, shows us that when utilities actually, what you said, listen to their customers, map their journey, and rethink older processes, they can uncover smarter solutions for what's happening now, right?
Uh,
So The question is whether these utilities will see equity and affordability as not a liability, but as core to their business. I think after this conversation, that might be a yes, because we need everybody right now. So thank you so much again, Ben, for coming on. How can people get in touch with you and for the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor. As always, please just go to esource.com. Look up my name, Ben Nathan. We are doing a ton of work for our clients. We are always happy to work with more folks and continue this important work together as an industry. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to work together.
Awesome. Awesome. And to you, our listeners, this is the moment to act boldly, to redefine success, not just in kilowatt hours, right? But in healthier, more resilient communities. So there is a business case here for sure. Energy, equity, and affordability. The date is there. The time is now. We are all in this together. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to Just Power wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really loved it, leave us a review and tell everyone you know about our podcast. It's going to take all of us to create a clean energy future that leaves no one behind.